Look at all of those, man. How to get one of the most expensive fishing baits for free. You're mine, mate. Ooh. Free bait while you're at work earning money. Lovely. Look at all of those, man. Lovely. Just worms. Like literally the easiest free bait to collect and keep alive. It's all good till the thief turns up. Wait, mate, he just nabbed one of my worms out of my pot and munched it. Thief! Worm thief! Another little tip where you can find absolutely hundreds of worms. It doesn't smell too great, but you gotta make sacrifices, didn't you? I'm gonna take them fishing later. Free bait while I'm at work. Lovely. So I'm just at work doing some weeding, and then I was basically digging up some of these weeds in here, and I keep finding loads of worms like that. So put a little pot aside. I'm gonna take them fishing later. Kind of killing two birds with one stone here. But while I'm doing the weeding, I've got a little pot here, and all the worms that I'm finding, I'm chucking them in there, and I'm going to take them fishing. There's one there. Lovely. You're mine, mate. Ooh. Free bait while you're at work earning money. Lovely. Have a little pot to the side. And all my weeds are going in there. My worms are going in there. Lovely. Worms while I'm at work. I say, before anyone says, oh, you're just collecting worms and you're not actually weeding, what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm picking out all my weeds once I've loosened up the soil. So it's quite nice because we had quite a lot of, oh, don't want to put them in my worm pot, put them in my weeding pot. So where we've had quite a lot of rain, and I do this bed regularly anyway, so the soil's all nice and dusty, fluffy. Even though we had a bit of rain. Basically, once I've done that, I'm going to be turning the beds over anyway to fluff them up. And then if I see any worms pop up, I'll grab them. But that time we didn't. So on to the next one. I mean, I've done half the bed and I've got like 10 worms in here. Pretty cool. Right, so just finished doing some weeding. I'm just going to turn this bed over, see if we find any worms. See how easy it is. Look, one there, 2 worms straight away. I mean, these ones aren't very big. I haven't found any lobworms or anything like that. They're all sort of dendrobina size, but I'm just going to stick them in a pot, leave them in the dark in my van. Hopefully they grow a little bit by the time I want to take them fishing. I have found a couple of big ones, but nothing crazy. And I mean, I say I'm not specifically like looking for worms, but as I'm turning them over, if I spot them, I will grab one. Look, there's one there. Just everywhere, worms, eh? One of the most expensive fishing baits, and it's like one of the easiest things to find yourself. Look, like, I say I'm a gardener and I do this all week. Weeding beds, turning flower beds over. Just thought I'd share my little trick with you guys on how I get free worms. So I've probably got half a box of worms in there. 20-25 worms in this tiny little flower bed. So this last bit to turn over. Ow, just caught my head on the rose bush. Lovely. Right, sorted. Right, so about halfway around this bed I've been weeding, and I've almost got a whole pot of worms. I mean, there's literally not much soil in that whatsoever. It's pretty much just all worms, and it's pretty much full to the brim. It's been worm central. Like I say, just finding them everywhere. So I've got to fluff up this bed anyway. And then they're just literally just loads of them. Just get them weeds out, all the grasses. So you get a few of these little ones, but after a couple of days, a couple of weeks, they'll be nice size. So I've got a nice pot of compost in the van that I'll go and bung them into, and then they'll stay alive for weeks and weeks, just in the back of my van in a pot, in some soil. I'll probably add like some little bits of breaking down grass and some dead leaves and stuff, so that they've got some new fresh organic matter to like eat. And then yeah, they'll survive for weeks. And I say I've got half a cup full of worms already in the van, so that's almost a cup I've got just today in a couple of hours. Lovely. Right, so I'm just down to my last section here, basically just this little bit here. So I'm just going to give it a little turn over, just sort of run you through what I'm doing. So there's one. So you don't always find loads, and there's always like a couple of small ones that you don't even bother picking up. So there's two. That one's a bit bigger. Not huge, but bigger than the rest of them. Cool, that's one. There's a proper one, mate. That's a proper worm. Get in there. Yes, I don't know how many that is, but I found like what, 6 or 7 just in this little area. And now that is all fluffed up. Oh look, one more. I'll have that. Go. Ooh. So yeah, pretty much got a whole pot of worms there, and that was from weeding and turning over this little bed here and that little bit in the middle there. And then I'm just about to go around the other side there and do along the house. Lovely, look at that. Got some nice chunky ones in there. Lovely. Just gonna go and take them to my van and go and chuck them in the cup. Chuck them in the cup with the other ones. Where are they? They're here. So, this is half a pot of worms that I've already got in here. So oh, look at all of that. Look at all them worms. Whoa. Like, that's almost as if I bought them from the shop. Look at them all. Ooh, lovely. Loads of worms in there, mate. Wonderful. I found a little grub as well. I'll tell you what, I won't put him in with the worms because he might eat the worms. I'll take him out. I'll just leave worm central. And I say when we come back in like 5 minutes, they would have all wiggled to the bottom. Right, get back to work. Right, so didn't actually chuck in this last little batch of worms that I got from today. So I'm just gonna, I said they're literally, this whole pot is pretty much just worms. And there's that grub again. Let me get that out first. I don't know if that's going to make like the worms, like give them a disease or something and kill them all. I say I just collected these in like the last 5 minutes before I left the other job. Oh, lovely. Worms, worms, worms. So say that's a whole Greg's cup full to the brim of worms. Lovely. Not bad for a couple of hours work. Let's go. Right, so just come back to these worms that I collected yesterday, and I've got a bait box now to put them all into. I actually already started putting a couple in here because I was doing another job today, doing some more weeding, and found a load more worms. So just like chucked a little bit of soil in there to get the bottom of the box covered basically, and then I'm going to pour, because I say this whole cup is literally just worms. Like the whole thing is just stuck together because it's all worms. Right, that's all of them out. There's probably a couple of little ones in there, but yeah, look at all of those, man. Lovely. Like literally the easiest free bait to collect and keep alive. I'll say they'll stay alive in the back of my van here for weeks and weeks. And then I actually collected some more worms today, but I accidentally cut a couple in half, and I seem to remember from using worms a couple of years ago, I had a couple of dead ones in the pot, and I left it in the pot and the rest of them died. So I'm just gonna, so I'll use these today when I go fishing in an hour or so. But yeah, I'll say I've got this other whole pot of worms here. I'm just going to keep this little pot separated for the minute. So let's get the last of those in there. Pretty sure that's all of them. Lovely. Let's get this shut up, and then I'll just leave these in the back of the van here till I go fishing. Fit lovely and snug in between my ladders. Lovely. Doing some weeding and collecting worms. It's all good till the thief turns up. Oi, mate. He just nabbed one of my worms out of my pot and munched it. No, he's off. Thief! Worm thief! So, just another little hint and trick. If you've got any compost or anything like that in your garden, they generally are absolutely filled with worms. Like I said, I'll just turn this little bit over here, and I can see all those worms in there, just everywhere. And I say, if you've got a compost pile breaking down, so you can always come in here, collect some worms as well. And I say these ones are really, really healthy, nice colour as well, really dark purpley red. And say 10 minutes in here and you'll have 100 worms probably. Lovely. So just doing some composting. So it's literally the amount of worms in here, it's just insane. Like, look, crazy. Had to get rid of the small bucket. I'm using a big bucket. So many worms in here. So about a quarter of the way through searching this, I've got a whole wheelbarrow here. I'd say there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of worms, look. Just absolutely everywhere. You probably can't really see too many on the camera, but all the little pink bits basically in the soil. It's just hundreds and hundreds of worms, and a little quick tip again is if you've got another compost pile that doesn't have too much soil, like this has got soil in the bottom where it's been breaking down, but there's not too much in the top here. So what I'm going to do is move some of these nice healthy breeding worms with some of their nice soil that they've already broken down for me, and then I'm going to chuck them in this pile, and then that will just give this pile a good little kickstart. And I say there'll be worms at the bottom of it, but they won't have made their way to the top yet. But if I make another little colony up here, I'll probably add. I'm basically trying to empty this bin because I want to restart it and make another one. Yeah, look, there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of worms. They're just absolutely everywhere in here. Look, it's just veins of worms. But yeah, so get them all broken up in here, get a bit added to this compost pile, and then that should give us that a nice little kickstart, and that should start breaking down now. Or the worms will start eating it and turning it back to soil. Let's get that covered back over. Lovely. So that's generally something that I normally do, like in between alternating the bins. Yeah, lovely.